Today on Thin Ice with Amy Freeze, we are tracking storms with one of the most fearless chasers out there. He's built a reputation on being in the right place at the right time. Aaron Rigsby, where are you right now?
Well, right now I'm at the Philadelphia airport on my way home from a little bit of a vacation to Europe. And then tomorrow, about 8 hours after I land, I'm on another flight to shoot for a new TV show. Then after that, another flight to potentially the Bahamas for Hurricane Melissa.
Wow. I mean, this is the life of a storm chaser being on the road. It's probably a little less glamorous than it sounds right now on a podcast, though.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone always thinks it's a dream job, but they're like, I wish I could do what you do. But, when they actually, because sometimes I'll have friends come along and they don't realize how much of a grind it is, how little sleep that you're getting, how many last minute decisions you have to make. Because planning a vacation for me is almost next to impossible because weather always usually crashes said vacation. This is the first one in a while I've had where we haven't had that issue.
Well, that's probably too because you've been working really hard. I looked up some of your stats and your YouTube account about maybe a little over a year and a half ago. I think it was the end of 2024. It was at 8,000 subscribers. You're now almost at 60,000 subscribers. Have you changed the way you've done things over the last decade or so?
Yeah, honestly, I've really just changed things up even in the last 3 years or so, because a lot of the format that I would do before, I would post a lot of like my raw videos and stuff like that. And it wasn't gaining the traction that you would typically normally see because the way that YouTube is evolving, it's turned into more of a long platform for videos. And I've really been kind of turning my eyes, maybe not necessarily from storm chasing, but turning into more of a journalist and a storyteller. And with my videos that I've been posting on there, I've been like in a lot of these historic storms a lot longer than what I previously would be 5 to 6 years ago. And I've been taking the time to really put together a big story. And that's what's been seeing a lot of the success with the YouTube channel is not only my stories, but tying in necessarily victim stories as well and people that I meet along the way. And people have really been connecting with that. And it's caused a huge surge in my YouTube channel over the last year and a half.
Yeah, it's almost like a docu experience. You're documenting it, you're sharing the story the entire time, but you're also still getting the absolutely spectacular shots there in real time that people want to see. I mean, they really want to get there. Everybody probably remembers their first chase or has at least one chase that they say, this one really defines how I started or how I got involved. Tell us about your first chase or at least a memory like that.
So it's funny. My storm chasing or weather in general used to be my biggest fear, and then it eventually grew into my biggest passion and then grew into my career, which is of today. And the thing that really prompted me is in 2010, I started getting big into photography. And I wanted to start facing my fear a little bit. And I started taking photos of lightning, and a tornado actually hit my hometown of Marysville, Ohio. It was a weak one, but it was still a tornado nonetheless. And ever since that day that I don't know what it was when I saw that damage firsthand and the kind of raw power that these storms, kind of hold, I guess it just, ignited that fire that I didn't know that I needed to be ignited. And it was just off to the races from there. And my first chase out in the plains was in 2012, where I got my first tornado, which was April 13th, 2012, near Cooperton, Oklahoma. And I tell you, I can probably still remember the restaurants that I ate that day, where I camped out after the tornado, and how that entire week went, because it was, not only special for me, but it really locked in of the mentality of I wanted to do this for the rest of my life.
Yeah, definitely memorable moments, and then they're documented, so they really stick with you and they stick with the viewers that you're sharing them with. You talked about food, so I'm going to just double down right now. What is the number one spot to stop at? Is it Wawa? Is it Buc-ee's? I forget all the names of the different good gas and convenience store stops, but do you have a favorite as a chaser?
Oh, absolutely. And I have two locations, actually. One is my beloved Beaver at Buc-ee's, but two is actually Love's Truck Stop, because one, they show a lot of love to the storm chasers. They've taken notice of that's been pretty much our go-to spot over the years. And they actually have sent us care packages and stuff to certain storm chasers. They'll give us shout outs occasionally on their Twitter page. So it's just kind of cool to see some of that love shown forward from these businesses that, definitely don't have to take time out of their day, especially for how many people they see and how many truckers they deal with. So, we try and return the favor and set up a lot of our business that way. But I also have a special place in my heart for some Casey's pizza as well. But that's more of a Midwest thing.
I love it. I love it. When you look at the community of Chase, I mean, not only is Love's paying attention, but the community itself is growing. Not only are there more chasers out on the road, but there's also more people following along. A lot of that's due to social media. What type of change have you seen in the community? Is it the type of person? Is it the places that are watching? I mean, it's not just places in Tornado Alley that are interested in storms.
Yeah, so there's actually a couple ways that I can go about this. One is we've seen a really big increase of what we call live streamers, which are folks that strictly live stream to YouTube and live stream their entire chase. And then there's also been a big pivot because when I first started storm chasing, people looked at you like you were nuts for chasing snow or anything outside really of storms and tornadoes. And there has been such a big surge within the last 5 years, especially of a lot of storm chasers chasing winter storms, chasing flooding, chasing hurricanes. And it's interesting to see how that's evolved over the years. It hasn't necessarily been for the bad. Like we don't see big chaser convergence in snowstorms like we typically see on tornadoes, but it's been a noticeable increase on that. So that's been kind of interesting to see that pivot. And I think a lot of that also is influenced by social media. A lot of these younger generation chasers that are the live streamers that are, they need content to produce year round. So that's a good source to do that with the winter storms. And I think also people are starting to notice, especially you can attest with this, how intense these lake effect storms can be over the two powerhouse storms that we had in 2014 and also in 2000, I think it was 23, we had the big Buffalo blizzard as well. So I think there's just been a lot more interest all across the board with weather, which overall is good because, it brings a lot of awareness to folks that, if they get caught in these storms, they can bring a lot of awareness of what these storms are capable of and bring a lot of awareness to the communities to better prepare for those in the future.
Yeah, if they see it, then they're more likely to understand what's necessary for them to do to be safe. With the growth though that you've seen, do you feel like it's competitive? Do you think like there's more rivalry out there, or is there a lot of collaboration with the storm chasers because you do have a wide variety? You have some novices out there, but you've also got the professionals. What is the energy when people are doing like an outbreak coverage?
Totally. Well, there's several ways that I can go about this. One, there is definitely a competitive nature to it. I'm guilty of that. I want to get the best shots. I want my footage to be all over the news, and I want to be the best of the best. And I think that's a good, healthy mentality to have, similar to sports. Everyone wants to be the best player that they can be. But also, too, I had a lot of, or not a lot, but a few mentors growing up as I was growing into the chaser world that kind of took me under their wing to show me the ropes of like how to shoot, what to shoot, audiences to target, my editing. And I try and pay that forward with some of the younger generation of chasers. But, for me personally, I'm very selective because with the growth of storm chasing and social media, we also have had an increase of just locals that see these live streamers go out and they want to follow them around and have no idea what they're doing. And that becomes a liability on everybody's fronts. So I'm very selective of who I kind of take under my wing. But it's been cool to get into that point of my chasing career where I've been doing it long enough now that I'm considered a veteran and you have younger people kind of looking up to you. You can select a few of those, take them under the wing, show them the ropes, and carry that torch for, future years to come long after even I'm gone. So that's been a really cool aspect to be a part of. But there also, too, with the increase of storm chasers and weather enthusiasts, there does arise problems. We're seeing a big increase, especially in hurricanes. We're starting to see chasers kind of stack up on each other, get into kind of sketchy situations that you don't necessarily that you haven't necessarily heard of before. And especially when it comes to tornadoes. I mean, I remember I like to be really aggressive and get those really up close, tight shots of tornadoes, and that can be in those kind of sketchy situations that I'm trained for. I know what I'm doing when I'm in those situations. But now, I mean, there can sometimes be conga lines in those areas, and it's only a matter of time, unfortunately, before we might see another incident similar to El Reno of 2013.
Yeah, safety is a huge concern, and it's really paramount to even getting out there and being a part of this community. I think safety is a big part of what people need to pay attention to. How has the technology changed for you? Are you using, I know the radar apps and all that kind of stuff are better. Are you using any drones or anything like that you've added to sort of your repertoire to get out there and get the best shot?
Yeah, honestly, my drone has been, I think I use my drone almost as much, if not more, than my handheld camera, simply for the fact that it provides such a unique perspective for your footage to stand out in an overall competitive nature. Because if I'm standing beside five other storm chasers getting the same shot as me, why would I pull out my camera? I can get my drone, fly in a different direction, and get a different angle from all those other chasers. But I will say, with the drone thing too, it has played a very crucial role in certain instances, not necessarily with search and rescue, but with flooding, especially in hurricanes. I have actually used my drone from people that have come up to me asking if I can check on their homes, see if they're like where their pet is. I've had that happen before. I've had to track down a lost horse in the flooding with my drone. So it really does play a double factor of not only for the journalist aspect, but it also plays a role in a lot of, I guess recovery is not really the best word, but kind of search and rescue, just to give people a sense of hope, or, give them an idea of what they're going to be dealing with when they eventually can make their way back to their homes as well.
Yeah, there's so many components to the dynamics of storm chasing. It's really interesting. We could go about it all day long. I feel like I've chased the storm chaser today because I've chased you down in the airport. But what is next for you, Aaron? What are some of the goals that you have, some bucket list items as you go forward in the future? Because you've had such an interesting development. And I really have noticed in the last year some changes in the way that you present your chasing and your photography. So there's growth and there's change at all different points. Do you have some things that you're going after next?
Well, it's funny you say that. I tell people, if you're interviewing Aaron Rigsby and he's not in his car or at an airport somewhere, you're not getting the true Aaron Rigsby experience, because I'm always bouncing around. But yeah, on point to the question was, it's kind of funny because I get asked this question fairly often, and honestly, I'm getting to a point where I'm almost like living to where I've almost worked toward everything that I've wanted to work for. But I think if I had to choose one thing that I really wanted to focus on and make a goal, is to get more consistent contracts with some other news networks, or do more work with documentaries alongside of that, maybe even outside of the chasing world, like with like nature films in my downtime, or be like a filmmaker for some of these docuseries that have been on weather or global warming or climate change, whatever. I think that would be a big goal of mine. But I think a lot of it would be to work toward sponsorships and getting a lot of content for people and brands that we use a lot of their products as, because then it's a mutual benefit. They, tend to either, give us some kind of a salary or give us free gear to use, and then we can show what this gear is capable of in the elements. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to have your equipment of any sort with electronics pushed harder than having it in a storm chaser's hands, better or worse. Sometimes you make it through some of that gear. I've gone through my fair share of cameras in the past and other electronic gear, but it's a mutual benefit, because to the regular person, they're like, okay, well, if that can go through a hurricane, then I can get this in a little bit of rain or something like that. And then, of course, there's always the ultimate goal of, working for National Geographic or something like that. So, I'm getting pretty close to everything that I've worked for. Just a little bit more consistency on some of those contracts is really what I'm striving for, to really balance it out and, and live very comfortably on my own, strictly from my freelance, which has been the ultimate dream that I was told was impossible.
Yeah, it is tough. Not many people can make a living out of this. A lot of people have to complement it. So that says a lot about the hard work that you've put into your career and what you want to accomplish. So congratulations so far on everything that you've done. I'm a fan. Will you be at the Chaser Summit early next year?
I actually will. Yeah, I won Storm Chaser of the Year last year. I believe it or not, if you didn't see.
I remember that. I can't believe I didn't mention that right at the top. I forgot. Congratulations. That's
so much
amazing.
has happened since then.
Yeah, that is absolutely amazing. Okay, so I'll be at the Chaser Summit. I will see you there. I'll look forward to it. And I wish you all the best in what you're doing. And I'll just put a little tag on here. You mentioned some big things that you're going after. I'll tell you that the amount of attention that you're getting, the views that you're getting, and the draw that you're pulling in, you are just as competitive as some of the outlets that you're trying to actually emulate or be welcomed into. So continue to push hard, because you're doing it.
Well, that really means a lot. Thank you so much for that. And I hope I can keep inspiring people in the future to just chase after the dreams and keep chasing after the impossible, because I can't tell you how many times I was told this dream was impossible, and it's standing right there in front of me. So with hard work and dedication, figuring out a routine that works for you, a lot of the younger chasers and weather enthusiasts are going to be listening to this. Use me as an example that anything is possible.
Thanks so much, Aaron Rigsby. Take care.
Thank you so much.